second. India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the 81 All Out podcast. I am Ashoka, aka AB Van on Twitter. We are here after quite a while to look at an active cricket match. The last match that we saw was the exciting World Cup final. We are going to preview a test series, the upcoming test series between India and West Indies. The two nations will be playing two tests, one held in Antigua and another in Jamaica. To do this podcast, I have two regulars of our podcast. One is Siddhartha Vaidyanathan. He is Sid V on Twitter. Hello, Sid.
Hey, man.
Yeah. And I have Mahesh Seturaman. He is @Cornered on Twitter. Hello, Mahesh.
Hey, Ashoka. Hey, Sidvi.
So, before I begin this podcast and we get into the preview of the test series, I thought we'll have a brief intro on the 1.5 month gap that we had and things that happened on cricket. So, to start with, we are now entered into the Test Championship mode. It is officially begun. And so what has happened is Ireland nearly beat England and then lost to England. England tried to beat Australia, lost to Australia. And now here we are with India and West Indies. So, Sid, what are your impressions on the month that went by from the final till now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot has happened. There's India, West Indies coming up. There's Sri Lanka, New Zealand coming up. And there's this super video of Sri Lankan fans giving Kane Williamson a cake in a warm-up match and all that.
I mean, he will be arrested shortly, right? Kane Williamson, because this amount of niceness is very suspicious. I think in 2019, this should be criminal, man.
Well, I was talking to someone and they made a valid point that when you're branded this Mr. Nice, then you have to begin to act and do things that make you Mr. Nice, right? So even though he probably had no real initial intention of going and eating that cake, then his brand had pushed him to it. He had to do it.
This is the Rahul Dravid trap, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
Rahul Dravid will always be roaming around with 3 books in his hand, even though he's read them or not, or something like that.
Come on, don't get cynical even before the legend starts. With Dravid, we had enough time. I mean, till the end of his career, we gave him the benefit of doubt. Let Kane enjoy his time in the sun.
Yeah, I think we have all become cynical fogies. But all the younger guys, the younger people listening to this podcast will basically realize that. But yeah, lots has happened. I was quite disappointed for Ireland. I was hoping for a big upset win there. Would have been fun to, especially with England after the high of the World Cup final to then suddenly see them 85 all out was quite a balance. And
it was the same month. It was the same month where they went from world champions to 85 all out against Ireland. It would have been fantastic if they had lost the test in the month and gotten. I mean, this is a very good parallel, right? See, India won the 2011 World Cup and then went to England. They lost their lead bowler in the first test after bowling a few overs. This is happening now with England. Jimmy Anderson is out.
But India actually initially went to West Indies, which everyone conveniently forgets.
Why are you throwing spanner at a narrative with facts, man?
I want to cut the narrative. I mean, if you can be cynical about Kane, do you want me to buy into this narrative? Come on.
Okay, but good you brought in India going to West Indies because that is where they're going. They are, in fact, now.
They are, in fact, yeah. And we have had a T20 series. We are having a ODI series, much of which I think has been bladed away by rain and general non-interest. The only interest I think is will Chris Gayle get past Brian Lara? I think he would, and I mean that would be great. So let's get into the test series. I mean, this test series is also part of Test Championship. So what I wanted to, because something about this Test Championship, the format as it is presented, is kind of icky, right? England and Australia are going at each other for 5 tests for playing for 120 points, and here is India and West Indies playing just a 2-test series for the same 120 points, right? So what do you make of this disparity? Apparent disparity here.
I mean, see, this is one of the many problems of this concept of Test Championship. Honestly, that's the lesser of the problems. I know it's problematic, and because you can't do a 2-month Test Championship, we have to live with this problem for a 2-year cycle. But I would probably look past it, because I don't think when England or Australia win the Ashes, they're going to think about how many points they're going to carry over in the World Championship at this moment. So I don't think it's already added that context to the existing or to the series that are going on or will go on for the next few months. And I also think that will be fixed over time. Of course, over time in the context of a Test Championship is rather long. It's very easy to be cynical about this, and I'm not sure we should be cynical about this as such. We could be indifferent about it. I don't think it's going to make any big difference at the moment. But the way I see it is that this could lead to some sort of administrative changes. Like, for instance, it's very likely that at some stage, because of this Test Championship, the way it is structured, Australia could host Bangladesh without cost constraints. And if we could get that, that's already a significant victory for this championship. That's the way I see it. We could score some political victories, not necessarily the cricketing ones. And let's say over 4 World Test Championship, with some incredible stories built over time. What if we reach a point where we even question the sanctity of Ashes, for instance? At the moment, with a 2-month IPL and an ever-expanding BBL and all kinds of other T20 leagues sprouting about, with very little control for ICC or even some of the big 3 boards to kind of control the calendar, a 5-test Ashes series is a bit of a luxury. Nobody is going to touch that holy cow. Nobody has the guts to touch that holy cow. But at some stage, even that could be put under the scanner. If that could lead to more 3-test series instead of 2-test series, I think that will also be a win. So I'm not hoping much, but I also think that there could be some political victories coming out of this.
The problems are pretty well laid out. A couple of people have written pieces on it. Michael Atherton wrote a piece on how the Test Championship has basically been created to accommodate the current scenario of the bilateral series. They have not started anything from scratch. So you have cases where England and Australia will play 5 tests, and New Zealand and somebody else may play 2 tests for the same amount of points. And of course, there will be a lot of outrage as the Test Championship nears its climax, because even though we know it now, people will suddenly wake up then and realize that there's no differentiation for home and away victories, and so there will probably come a time when a team has won all their series at home and lost quite a few series abroad, and yet are in contention for the World Test Championship final. And so there will be a lot of attendant outrage about that. But we already know that. And I mean, it's still a bit bizarre for me why there isn't like an extra few points for an away win. I think that should be credited, especially in times where, we have seen quite a bit of home advantage. But okay, the rules have been set. And, we can keep arguing about boundary count in the World Cup final, but that was a rule and before the World Cup. So same thing here. And I agree with Mahesh. I think there could be political victories. But at one level, I feel like as people who really watch Test cricket and enjoy Test cricket, should we be backing a scenario where an Ashes 5-test series will perhaps at some point become a 3-test series? Or should we be looking at more 2-test series being played between Sri Lanka and, say, New Zealand, or Sri Lanka and Pakistan actually becoming 3 and 4 test series? Shouldn't we be going the other way?
We could do that only if we can kind of either contain the expansion of T20 leagues or make it an absolute parallel sport where there's very little overlap between the two. Therefore, the test players are not necessarily conflicted between choosing a T20 league versus a test opportunity. I think we might go there, and if we go there, it's better for both the sports. I'll just give an example. For instance, India is playing a test series in New Zealand early next year, which is entirely brought about by this test championship. Otherwise, BCCI's stance was the time zone is not convenient for India and will only play the one-day series there when there's a day-night match and Indian audience can watch. The fact that it's already brought about that change is already a good thing. That's the way I see it. And the other point about the 2-test series versus 5-test series kind of logic is that at the moment, it's a superimposition of a league structure and a points table over what is already existing. It's only going to make minor tweaks in terms of India agreeing to play in New Zealand and India playing Bangladesh over a 2-test series instead of a one-off test at home. So those minor victories are already there. But I don't think it's going to make a substantial difference. But ICC is sensible enough to know that it can't change things for the sake of World Test Championship. So it's basically superimposed a format over what is already existing as a bilateral arrangement.
And also, all the test series that are going to be played in the 2 years are not included in this World Test Championship. We must remember that. There are like a few series here and there that are not counted points-wise. I think that is because...
versus Ireland and Afghanistan.
Not only that, I think even there are a few, maybe a handful of series between the teams that are not Ireland and Afghanistan that are also not included. So, I mean, there could be a situation where the team that is leading the ICC rankings does not make the final of the World Test Championship, which could be a bit absurd. But again, the rules are known. So these are all possibilities that could happen. I'm glad that at some level, we will also start paying attention to other test series, even if it's just a case of just following what's going on so that you know where the points table is going to land up in the test championship. So that little bit of interest may lead to more people watching, say, New Zealand play Sri Lanka than they are now. So for all those little victories, I'm happy that they've brought it along.
I also think the other big advantage, or big victory that could come out of it is if in some way over many World Championship, if ICC can kind of get some sort of a control over the broadcasting revenues of Test cricket, because take the final scheduled at Lords, for instance. We don't even know which teams will be there. Let's assume it's New Zealand and Sri Lanka. Who does the broadcasting revenue go to? I mean, at the end of the day, a World Test Championship final at Lords will command a substantially higher premium than a simple New Zealand versus Sri Lanka test match. Now, my reading is that it will go to ICC, right? If you're going to control a match for which you don't know the participants centrally, it's very likely that over time they will kind of get a greater control over the revenues of Test cricket. And if we go down that route, as much as I hate the idea of centralization of revenues, but in this context, it's probably good because anyway, the domestic boards are not particularly keen on Test cricket. So in a way, if the lack of interest from domestic boards add to the propping up of revenues for Test cricket at a centralized level, I think that will also be a win, but that's like a pipe dream for me that I don't think that's going to happen. But if we get anywhere close to that, that will also be a win for the Test Championship.
So,
a couple of other points I'll just add before we go on. On Siti's point about the home and away thing, I think it's deliberately kept that way so that the schedule is uniform and you don't end up playing a lot of home versus away. So if everybody gets even opportunities of a home-away cycle, I think on an average over a 2-year cycle, it's fair, assuming we get there. And the bigger distortion or lack of balance I see is not so much in treating home and away equally as much as treating a 2-test and a 5-test series equally, because it's very likely that Sri Lanka can go to South Africa or England and win a 2-test series, but they're unlikely to win a 5-test series.
Yeah, the only thing that could have been more shocking than Sri Lanka's 2-0 victory over South Africa in the Test series would have been Sri Lanka's 5-0 victory over South Africa in South Africa. So I guess.
Yeah.
But Sri Lanka actually have been very successful if you see. I mean, of course, they played short series, but they've had, they went to England and won a series.
But they lost to England at home, by the way. That's a good example, right? They won in South Africa 2-0 and they lost to England 3 at home.
And then they went and drew in West Indies.
drew in West Indies. They won against South Africa at home. In fact, South Africa home and away they won. So that's a significant achievement.
Yeah.
They lost to India love 3. They lost to England love 3 at home.
Yeah.
So then this home away thing gets really dicey, right? Do you want to give more credit for Sri Lanka because they drew in West Indies and they won in South Africa, or they lost to, England and India whitewashed, right?
Yeah. But that is Sri Lanka, Machan. They are like the Pakistan of the modern days. As some people like to call Sri Lanka Pakistan light, but Andrew Fidel Fernando takes deep offense with that because he says Pakistan or Sri Lanka light. So, but I think other teams generally, like if you see a South Africa, for instance, or if you see a New Zealand, generally they thump people at home and end up having to. And New Zealand, of course, has won abroad as well, but I'm saying they largely don't do as well abroad.
Yeah. The other thing is, do you think this will impact the way captains go about things? For instance, if you remember the Adelaide chase in 2014, I think was it Virat Kohli's first Test as captain, right?
Yeah.
When they go for the chase, even after they lose Vijay and eventually they lose Kohli, or for that matter, the Oval Test in the last England series when Vijay and Pant get out and they still go for the chase. I think those kind of matches, the balance will kind of tilt more in favor of conservative attitude. So we could still see it influencing the play. As much as we would like to believe that this is a superimposition over a bilateral arrangement, but it's still going to make those marginal impact.
Yeah, and then you also have games within games, right? Like a dead rubber is no longer fully a dead rubber. So even if India have lost the series and they go to the Oval, you still have that point to the whatever 20, 30 points, how many ever points to worry about. So it's I think that's going to add a bit of more context, at least in terms of those dead rubber tests.
Yeah, I don't think Kohli would have played Karan Sharma over Ashwin if there were World Championship points at stake.
Well, he would have played Rahul Char. I mean, I don't think Kohli really, his decision making is going to majorly be changed because of this one thing. I think he will continue to surprise us match by match.
Let's segue into what the Indian squad is for this series. Pretty much boilerplate what you think in terms of bowling, right? Ishant, Shami, Bumrah, and Jadeja and Ashwin for spin counterparts, and even Kuldeep Yadav. The only point in contention that I think is we have 2 wicket keepers, right? Rishabh Pant and Saha for this series. That would be one of the major point of contention as to who to play. Because Saha did very well until that injury happened. And then he has come back and done well in the A series as well. So that would be one point. Another would be Hanuma Vihari and Rohit Sharma. Where would they fit in? Would they fit in at all in this in the 11? Those are the two major contention points. Sid?
I think one of the things, like after the Australia series, is that Ravi Shastri gave an interview and said Kuldeep is now going to be our number 1 spinner, even in tests. This was after the Sydney test, where he had bowled really well, and which was quite a surprise for me then, because, given everything, I mean, I would have thought Ashwin is still your number 1 bowler. But that was an interesting point, and I'd like to see how that works out in terms of the first choice spinner. I think Pant versus Saha, I honestly would be surprised if they leave out Pant. I mean, in terms of test series, I feel he has improved in every single match and every single series. Right from, England, home against West Indies, Australia, he's just got better and better, in both aspects, keeping and batting. And in this kind of series, with the West Indies pitches being, I'm assuming, being as they will be, as they were against England, the pacey pitches where run scoring is difficult, where the margins are really small, where a 20-30 run lead could make a big difference, like it was against South Africa earlier, or even against England. I think, having Pant there again would make a big difference. I mean, a quick 50 here, and you could be talking about a game-changing scenario. And Saha, yeah, he's done well in the A series in West Indies itself, but I think it would be Pant unless he has some injury or something. And in terms of Rohit and Rane, I mean, I think they'll go with Rohit, and I think it will come with attendant outrage. But again, I mean, on those kind of pitches with the ball expected to bounce, and you would back him to play that zone. I mean, he goes for his shots, scores quick. So I would still not be not criticize the move if they pick him.
I mean, he scored a 50 before he left for paternity in Australia as well.
So yeah, but he chose personal life over country. Come on.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And the other big advantage for Rohit is the fact that Hardik is rested. Otherwise, I don't think that slot would even be open. Kohli would have gone ahead with Hardik. The fact that he's not there makes a very strong case to play the sixth batsman. Of course, Kohli could still surprise us by playing 5 bowlers, but if it comes to a question of sixth batsman between Bihari and Rohit, given Bihari hasn't grabbed his chance since his impressive debut, you could make a case that Rohit has never grabbed his chance. But I would like to believe that Rohit would be the preferred choice for the sixth batsman.
Would there be a sixth batsman though? I mean, there is a strong case for having 3 pacers and 2 spinners, right?
There's a very strong case, given the Duke's ball as well. It's very tempting given what we have seen in the last 3 series in West Indies that they played with the Duke's ball, which is Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and England. In fact, before England came into West Indies, they were actually talking up the prospect of playing with the Duke's ball and how the hosts will be playing into the hands of England by opting for Duke's ball, which didn't work out that way. And even in the Sri Lanka series, it's not just the West Indies bowlers who took wickets. Even the Sri Lankan seamers, Rajitha and Kumara, everybody took wickets. So given that, I think there is a very strong temptation to play 3 fast bowlers. In that case, you either leave out the second spinner or leave out the sixth batsman. But which is what I was kind of trying to allude earlier, because it's a test championship and just 2 tests and not 3, Kohli might probably go with the sixth batsman and not go for the 5th bowler. If that's the case, it becomes really tricky. More likely he'll play 3 and 1, which in my book should be Ashwin, but you never know.
One thing that, I mean, the recent 5 bowler strategy that Kohli has been applying feels very right to me. I mean, we have been watching cricket for many years now, and 4 bowlers is kind of default with someone from the top order coming and bowling some 3-4 overs in an innings, or if you're getting Tulp, some 15 overs. But this 5 bowler strategy looks like a very nice and proper strategy to approach a test. This is very recent thing for us, of course, but this feels, right to me more than, say, winging it with 4 bowlers and having one extra batsman when you know that the conditions are bowler friendly. Right.
Well, I would think it's a reverse, right? I mean, I would think that you would want 5 bowlers in a scenario where the conditions are favoring the batsman, because you want to give the rest to your lead bowlers. You want them, that they'll probably have to bowl for extended periods of time, so you want that 5th option. But I think in Antigua and Jamaica, given what we have seen over the last couple of years, given the way the ball has stalked, and given how difficult it is for batsmen, I would be surprised if they continue with that strategy, because I would think they would want a bit of a cushion with batting. I mean, you have, when you have Bumrah, Ishant, and Shami, I would think that you would back them to and a spinner, which I'm assuming will be Ashwin, but could be Kuldeep. I would think you would back them to get the 10 wickets without too much of a hassle.
Oh, I just noticed we are going with 4 pacers, man. I mean, for the squad, not for the 11. We have Umesh as well, Ishant, Shami, and Bumrah. I think Ishant, Bumrah, and Shami, I think, will make the cut. Umesh, we'll have to see. I mean, if Kohli is being super aggressive with 4 fast bowlers and and Jadeja or Ashwin. That would be interesting as well.
I mean, he did it in Perth, right? They played 4 in Perth.
Correct.
So he could do it again. You can't rule anything out with Kohli.
But that
Correct.
Perth, to be fair, kind of justified going for that to some extent. Although I wouldn't have gone there, but I'm just saying that there's a lot more merit in picking 4 fast bowlers for that Perth wicket than either of the wickets that we're going to see in West Indies. I'm a lot more worried about India's batting, for instance. KL Rahul has been...
That's what I was coming to. Like if KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal, that's kind of a sore spot, right? Like now we are going to pray that whenever Pujara comes in, he's going to stick around for 200 balls.
I'll come to that as well. So it's a bit of I mean, it could be a deeper problem than what it seems at the moment. Rahul is pretty much playing for his career. Rahane is very likely playing for his career, if not maybe one more series. Since the last West Indies series when Rahane played quite beautifully, he's been quite bad, and
They had that 140 or 50 in South Africa, right? When in the test that he batted and we won.
That is a counter-attack innings, right? That kind of innings he's been playing. He's been playing like, impactful knocks. He played in England, he played in Australia as well. But he's not been consistent. And ever since that injury that he got during the England series at home, which paved the way for Karun Nair, for instance, since then his record has been quite awful. So you have Rahul who's playing for his career. You have Rahane probably playing for his career. You have either Vihari or Rohit who have to do something to make a career.
And you can add Mayank as well, because he's also very new.
Mayank is just starting, but at least Mayank is not in the realm of concerns. It'll be. I know a lot of people will outrage when I say this, but we also have to be a little conscious of Pujara here, because one, Pujara's last outing in West Indies was not great, and two, his record in Duke's ball is not particularly great. So he did have a decent series in England with a 100 in Southampton and a 70 odd in Trentbridge. But overall, he was still averaging around 40 with the help of an unbeaten 100. So in the sense that there is enough reason to be a little cautious about Pujara, which is not to say that he'll not have a good series, but I'm just saying he's not going to extend his form from Australia to here so easily. So you're effectively going with Kohli, who's expected to make good runs. Agarwal, who's had a good start. Pant, who's had a terrific start to his test career. That's it.
And Jadeja, if he's picked, I think his batting has come slightly leaps and bounds in the last 6 months or so.
Which is the exact opposite for Ashwin, right? Because in the last series we played here, he got a Man of the Series award in which he scored a couple of hundreds. In fact, one of them, he got a Man of the Match for his batting. And since then, his batting is completely tapered.
Correct. It has.
I mean, West Indies can run through this lineup pretty easily, and you don't even have a backup opener. If Rahul fails in the first test, there's no backup opener for the second test.
Though Ashwin is number 3 for Dindigul Dragons, and he has hit quite a few useful knocks. So that is there.
Fuck off, Ashoka.
Yeah, I think it's a great preparation for to face Roach, Gabriel, and Paul, I'm imagining, or maybe not, and Holder. On really fast West Indies tracks. I mean, Alzari would have just made this attack like something else, right? I mean, you have like Alzari, Holder, Roach, and Gabriel coming at you all day, and those guys, like, irrespective of what you see with West Indies and what you saw with them in the World Cup and what you see with them in some shorter versions, that test bowling attack is seriously disciplined. I mean, against England, it was so impressive. They just keep coming at you on, off, outside, off. They bowl that length. I mean, it's not too full. Sometimes it's short. I mean, Gabriel can dig it in short at pace, but then they bowl that length where the ball can just take off, takes the shoulder of the bat, and then the edge goes for an edge. And Holder is like amazing with that.
Yeah, we have been saying that, right? Like 2018 has been a great year for the West Indies pace attack in general, and this time they have added Chemo Paul. So Indian batting has quite a few worries than Indian bowling. Like Indian bowling seems sorted, and now you're thinking whether to leave out Ashwin, include Kuldeep, leave out Umesh. Those are the points. Here we are like grasping at straws, right? Like you have to. I mean, would it be that mad if say for the first test, if KL Rahul fails again, would it be mad if you open with Rohit and Mayank?
I don't
Or
think
would it
they'll do
be?
that.
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
think they'll do
won't
that.
be mad, but I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah, because here is a guy who had 8,000 runs in ODI opening. I mean, how bad can he be? I mean, we have asked this question again and again, and we have been shown repeatedly how bad he can be, or how unfortunate he can be. But
Well, there's also an option which they may consider, which they considered before, of Vihari opening. So if they're not happy with Rahul in the first test, I think they could go with Mayank and Vihari for the
Siddhi, you're getting the narrative wrong. The Vihari opening was to accommodate Rohit. So in this situation, if Vihari bats, Rohit will not be in the team. So Kohli will not do that.
Oh, that is the narrative point of view. Okay.
Because both had to play and one had to open. Why not Rohit? He is already an opener in white ball. Why not him? Why did they sacrifice Vihari? And because of that, his short ball weakness was exposed. And in the meanwhile, Rohit came in at number 6 and scored a free 50.
Anything could, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and watch. Or maybe they'll just tell Rahul before the series that, hey, you have these 2 tests. You've been having not a great time. So we'll give you this assurance of playing these 2 tests, and let's see how it goes after that.
yeah,
And Rahul, being Rahul, will score 100 in the 4th innings of the series.
hey, that is Shikhar Dhawan, man. Oh, even Rahul, yes, of course.
I mean, what has he been doing there? He's been doing the same thing since the last 2 years.
Yeah, 100 at the Oval, and did he get some at Sydney? Or
He's got some 40 or 50. In fact, in Australia, he didn't have a particularly good time. Not even one big innings.
okay, yeah.
I remember right, yeah.
I mean, ideally, they would have, I guess, if all things had worked out, then Agarwal and Mayank and Prithvi Shaw would have probably been the openers. But of course, Shaw has his own issues going on now. So we'll have to wait for the resurrection of that career.
Yeah, the last time we played West Indies in West Indies, I think that is the first double 100 Kohli got. Right after that, he went mad, got 5 more of those. So there is hope that, but this time the bowling attack is so good that it will be great to watch him battle out these 4 people, the 4 fasts that West Indies are going to field. And also,
that was again in Antigua, right? The 200. I remember that, and it was. That West Indies had not yet, that lineup hadn't yet become the lineup of now. They were just still, I think, finding their way around then. So if he can get another double 100 now, it'll just be an absolute treat for the eyes.
Plus the ball, right? I mean, at that time, they were still using Kookaburra ball, and that makes a significant difference.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just looking at that 2016 series. So much has changed about the Indian team. At that time, Ashwin's batting was pretty much at its peak, and he was a genuine all-rounder. Saha pretty much cemented his spot as a great wicketkeeper, but also a good batsman with 100 there. Pujara was dropped because he was batting slow. Since then, his career has completely turned around. Rohit's career has just been there, playing, being dropped, being dropped. Or whatever. Kohli has taken on significantly, like you said, first double 100 and 5 more since then. Rahane pretty much, I think that was probably the peak. There was a time when he averaged close to 50, and he had 1 good series after that against New Zealand. And since then, he's been completely off the radar, so to say, compared to his. I was just checking his numbers. So in his first 26 matches, he was averaging 49, which is at the end of the series, at the end of the West Indies series that we're talking about. And in the last 30 tests, he averages about 33.87. 7 of his hundreds came in his first 26 matches, and 2 of his hundreds have come in the last 30 matches.
Yeah. So, yeah, he has been not so great, actually, but that's the problem, right? He also has a couple of crucial knocks. Even in Australia, I felt he had a 80 and a 70 at a crucial time. So you
Even
can't
in
write.
England, he played a crucial knock.
Yeah,
Even in
he
England, he
did.
played a crucial knock.
So you can't write him off completely. That's the problem. Like he's not having a slump. I mean, of sorts. We are just saying that here's a batsman who used to be at 49-50 average. At one point in time, the only batsman to have 50 average in that entire team, even when Kohli and Pujara weren't there. From
No,
there,
he never averaged 50 in Test cricket. It was the Sena average or away average or whatever.
oh, 50. I'm thinking 50 away average. Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that time he was pretty poor at home and he was pretty good at good away. And funnily, the slump started after his twin hundreds against South Africa and Delhi, right? Since then, after that, he came to West Indies, and since then his career has gone. I don't know. It's hard to kind of figure out what has gone wrong with his batting. But since he's come back from that injury, he's not been tight. Like Stokes had him in all kinds of trouble in England. Even in the South Africa 40 that you're talking about, the counter-attacking innings, I don't know, man. I felt like he came and kind of played a very Azhar-like innings where he threw the bat at it, hoping it comes off, rather than a typical Rahane solid counter-attacking innings.
Yeah.
So what would be your 11? Ashoka, what would be your 11?
My 11, okay. Here's Mayank and KL. For the first test at least, Mayank KL opening. Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, that is 5. Then Pant at 6. Ashwin, Jadeja, 7, 8. And 3 fast bowlers, which is Shami, Bumrah, and Ishan. So 5 bowlers and 5 batsmen and a keeper. That's it.
Fucker, not picking Rohit. Huh?
You're there, right? So you pick.
Okay, Siddiq.
No, I don't think they'll go with 2 spinners, at least for the first test, in Antigua. I think they'll go with, I would want them to go with Ashwin, but I will be absolutely not surprised if they go with Kuldeep. And I would play Rohit at 6, Pant at 7, and then the 4 bowlers. The Kuldeep and the Shami, Ishant, Bumrah.
I can't imagine we are even considering a scenario that Ashwin, like someone like Ashwin, who's one of the all-time great cricketers, test cricketers seen, being not in the 11 because Shastri gave a stupid interview.
Well, that's also because of the experience we have with Shastri Kohli teams, right? Like they have always surprised us with the selection. So I will be absolutely not surprised if they pick Kuldeep.
No, I mean, I'm okay with you going by history of their picks, but we are giving a lot of weightage to his answer in an interview question, right? And I mean, I am very scared when I think of it, and I'll be devastated if I'll be shocked. Forget devastated. I'll be just shocked if they drop Ashwin.
Well, I mean, I get it, but there is a fair argument to say that, hey, Kuldeep did well, right, in the previous test.
Come on. We are still playing Rahane and Rahul based on some promise. And Ashwin is as big a match winner as Indian cricket has seen since Kumble.
Yeah, but people will do Sena averages and then tell you Ashwin's average in Sena and all, right? So,
Hey, he's not. No. This is the one forgotten land, right? West Indies.
West Indies.
And now West Indies, if you bring up the past record of Ashwin, you will say, oh, that was not with the Duke's ball. And Ashwin did, he almost did a Botham, right? By scoring 100 and taking a 7-4.
Yeah, in the previous
last
test there. Yeah, last series.
But then you can completely dismiss that, right? Come on, I mean, a 5-4 in Sydney it's big, but come on, that's not big enough to replace an all-time legend.
So what would be your 11?
I will go with 6 batsmen. I'll go with Rahul, Mayank, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Rohit, and Pant. Then 3 fast bowlers and Ashwin. And 3 fast bowlers is known, right? Bumrah, Ishant, and Shami.
Good. So that would be our Indian 11, right? So let's move to West Indies. You guys seen the squad for West Indies?
Yep.
It seems to be pretty much not much has changed except for inclusion of Shama Brooks and Chemo Paul. I think
And
most
this
of the.
guy,
How
Rahkeem
can you
Cornwall.
forget Big Con?
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah, Rahkeem Cornwall, right? So let's start with their bowling first of all. The Rahkeem Cornwall seems to be a good spinner, dude. He's had a good first class record there, and I saw the A tests as well. So he gets good drift and spin, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just checked his record. I mean, he has over 55 games. He averages 24, which is good for a spinner. I mean, he has 260 wickets. So, whatever you say about, the batsman he's bowling to, level, whatever. I mean, a record worth looking at seriously. And also, I was checking some of the local reactions to this selection, and people were saying it's the first test is in Antigua. He's from Antigua, so there will be extra pressure to play him because, as always in West Indies, there are all these regional pressures, right? So people were saying he will most definitely play because the other spinner is Brooks, who was in the squad for the England series but never played. But also,
No, but Brooks is primarily batting all round.
Batting.
Puts a little bit of leg spin, but primarily a batsman.
yeah, exactly. And then and anyway, they also have Chase, who is primarily a batsman and also bowls spin. And I think John Campbell also bowls a bit of spin now and then. So they were saying that Cornwall will play and these guys will chip in if needed.
Oh.
But where will you play Cornwall? In the sense, if you where's the space for him?
Die.
In
What
the
kind
level.
of comment? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is no pun intended, you mean, right?
Absolutely not. Although now I can see why you would have expected that.
Well, I mean, see, okay, let's go with the 11s as such. I'm looking at what I saw from the England series, and what I think is John Campbell and Brathwaite, Shea Hope, Darren Bravo, Shimron Hetmeyer, and Roston Chase.
No, Dowrich. Dowrich had.
No, Dowrich will
be there. No?
Dowrich will come later. So Chase at 6, Holder at 7, Dowrich at 8 is what I'm thinking, which is pretty much consistent with their top 8 for the England series. And then you're right. Yeah, I mean, Roach and Gabriel have to play, which leaves one slot. And given the conditions, they may go with Chemo Paul, I'm imagining, and then leave the spinning options to Chase. But if they really want to, if they feel that Cornwall, I mean, the only place where they could play is between Chemo Paul and Cornwall. That's the option.
Actually, no. Even see, if you have Roach, Gabriel, and Chemo Paul, you can still swap Rahkeem Cornwall with Hetmeyer. Like Cornwall does bat.
No way. They can't do that.
Why would you not? Because Hetmeyer is like, okay, man, he is a good batting talent, but he's not proven himself as a test material. I mean, you gain yourself a bowling option because if say the pitch flattens out, then you're looking at Roston Chase and bowling like 29-30 overs without any support from the other end.
No, but you can't have 6 bowlers, right? Because Holder is also a frontline bowler. That's already 5 frontline bowlers plus Chase. I mean, how much would you split around the resources?
The other option, which also some people have suggested there, is that you drop Dowrich and go with Hope as a keeper. So that opens up a slot for your other bowler.
Okay, to give you some context, if you have to drop one wicket keeper and play an extra bowler, you'll drop Hope and keep Dowrich because he's been the better test batsman.
Well, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Dowrich has been like on fire, right, in that number, like with Holder. Chase, Dowrich and Holder are basically that fulcrum of that team.
Correct. And dropping Hope is not happening because I don't think they will drop Hope.
Because he's Hope.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, anyway, Gabriel-Roach and Holder is a very good 3-pronged pace attack. And then you bring in Cornwall and Chase and Campbell. Chase can support and Campbell can do the off 2-over spell or 3-over spell or whatever.
By the way, there's also penalty points for slow over rate in the World Test Championship. So you never know. For all that, could also trick them into playing Cornwall at the expense of Paul.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the amount of time Gabriel takes to bowl those overs.
Yeah.
I mean, even cricketing merit, it's not a bad call to play a spinner over Paul, given that he's very likely to be underbowled with these three guys dominating. Otherwise, basically the 10 picks itself, right? The 10 that played against England picks itself, right? Brathwaite, Campbell, Hope, Hetmeyer.
Bravo.
Then you have Dowrich, you have Chase, you have
Holder.
Three fast bowlers, Holder, Gabriel and Roach. So that leaves with only one spot, right? It's either Paul or Cornwall. I don't know. Initially, I think for the first test they might go with Paul, but if overrate is a concern, they might go with Cornwall.
Yeah, that's a good point because all the tests against England, they had big overrate concerns. In fact, the Holder was even banned, right? Because of he was.
Yeah, for the last test, he didn't play, right? Yeah.
He didn't play the last test. So that was a big deal then. So could be because these guys take a lot of time to bowl their overs. And, and Roach also bowls short spells these days. So he needs that somebody to relieve some stress. So a spinner is again a very good option to sort of keep mixing it up with Roach. So yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Plus his batting also adds up, right? Cornwall's batting also adds up.
Oh yeah, he can come and hammer it. I think in the India A series he had quite a few good innings.
Yeah, a couple of 50s, I think.
Let's wrap it up with the call for the series, or what do you think will happen, or whatever.
Mahesh, you start, Macha. What is your call for the series then?
I think it's going to be closely fought series, and I will go with 1-1 because I think this West Indies bowling with that Duke's ball has been causing collapses consistently, let that be Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or England. And with India's brittle batting, with Rahul suspect, Rahane suspect, and number 6, either Vihari or Rohit, and not yet established as a test batsman, there's enough juice for West Indies to exploit, and they're very likely to exploit it. So I would think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
Sidvi?
Yeah, I would go with the similar prediction. I think India will lose the first test. Their batting will be pretty exposed, and then maybe they'll win the second thanks to, they'll compete in both thanks to the bowling, but I would go with 1-1. West Indies winning the first one and India winning the second one. I don't think there's going to be any draw here with the Duke's ball pitches, batting lineups, and bowling abilities. I'm pretty sure I would be surprised if even both tests go to 5 days.
I rationally thinking, I also want 1-1, but I'll say 2-0 India. I'll take the punt because I think we have a better bowling attack. I think we should. This would be like 250 kind of scores. Also, I think India would be tough to beat.
And one point I want to also ask, we can go around again, is like maybe you can start with Mahesh. Is that how has it been? Like India West Indies in terms of loyalties? Can you talk a bit about how it's been over the years? And instinctively, who would you support when India play West Indies?
Mahesh.
I see, the thing is with West Indies, it's always easy to support West Indies against every team, and I've been in that zone as a fan. But with West Indies, I mean, like the name suggests of our podcast 81 All Out, that's had a massive impact on our psyche, at least on mine for sure. And since then, every subsequent series have seemed like a better chance, and we've never really grabbed it. Like under Ganguly, we win the test in Port of Spain, subsequently go on to lose the next two tests. And even when we won under Dravid, I think, was that the series that you covered, Sidvi, 2006?
Yeah. When we won only the one Jamaica test. Yeah.
And it took a couple of iconic, epic innings from Dravid at his best to seal that series. Only, in fact, in the last test series, we have actually, or in fact, I would say 2011, we were in a position to win all three, although we won only one. And the last series was the first time where India has won two tests in a series against West Indies. So in a sense, last two series have been more supporting West Indies. But during the 90s and probably till Dravid played those two epic innings. Despite my extreme soft corner for West Indies and the resurgence of West Indies cricket, I was still kind of hoping India wins because, I mean, I know people talk about the epic fourth innings chase by the Sunny's team in Sunny's debut series, but I have had no idea of what it feels like to win a series in West Indies. So I was always hoping I could experience that. So till Dravid won that, I was still supporting India in the bilateral series. But subsequently, my stakes are more towards West Indies.
You'd be quite mad a cricket fan to kind of hate West Indies cricket with some like gusto. You can't do that. But whenever India plays West Indies, I would always been supporting India. And even now, I think it'll be good fun supporting India, but it takes the joy out of it when the matches become kind of one-sided. So with all this picture, I mean, that's my thing with the last 2018 onwards, right? When the pitches became slightly more spicier and the attacks became potent. This is one contest I would want to see, and I've been waiting to see. So, but I still would support India, but I would not mind if West Indies win a test. I mean, it's pretty hard to hate a team that's being captained by Jason Holder. It is
actually I need to qualify my answer. I think I have supported India only when India have taught West Indies. When West Indies have taught India, I've always kind of supported West Indies because they had such low chance of winning to begin with. And in some ways, it doesn't hurt me if West Indies win a series in India as much as it hurts me that India is not able to win a series in West Indies, at least when I was a fairly partisan India fan.
Well, one of the things, I was similar point I was going to make is that one of the things with many teams and watching many series is that I would generally go with the underdog, either underdog in terms of skill or just underdog in terms of narrative. Like now in this series, Ashes series, I really hope Australia win the series, and I hope Smith and Warner do really well.
Are they the underdogs though?
Exactly. They are probably not the underdogs skill-wise, but I feel these two guys are the underdogs, or at least started as underdogs narrative-wise. So, and with all the booing and all, it just made me like hope for Smith to do well, and I was so happy that he did. The thing with West Indies though is that I didn't really follow them at their absolute peak in the late 70s and early 80s. But ever since I've started watching West Indies, it's that irrespective of whether they are underdogs or favorites, it still doesn't seem to matter. It's still like that factor seems to go out with West Indies. Even in 1989, I remember the first series I ever followed with any kind of seriousness. When I saw the highlights, I mean, West Indies were absolutely the more superior team. But at no point of time did I feel, like heavily, like really bad that these guys were tulping India or something like that, as I did feel in 92 against Australia or 96 against South Africa. I don't know, with that whole underdog favorite status seems to go away. And even now, for many years, West Indies were the underdogs. So when they played India in 2011 and even in the last series, I was, totally okay if West Indies won it. But even now, even though they are not fully the underdogs and they are probably even favorites at some level, I still feel that, I would like West Indies to do well. So all in all, after saying all this, I think when India play West Indies, I want it to be a really close series and a really close game. And after that, whoever wins, whoever loses, doesn't matter to me, because I've been able to have the best of both worlds.
Agree.
So for this series, what is your preferred result? Not what do you predict? What's your preferred result? If you can write the script.
Like two extremely close series, like very, very close finishes and ending in 1-1. And that'll be perfect.
Are we talking anything about Jason Holder? Because I thought we'll probably talk a little bit about him. In the sense, he's on par with any great all-rounder ever in history, right? At the moment, his record of more than 30 batting average and less than 30 bowling average. With, especially in the last series where he took 5 wicket hauls and scored a double-hundred against England. So you can argue that the Duke's ball has helped him with the ball, but the corresponding point about his batting is not true, right? Because he's playing against the masters of Duke's ball and he goes on to score a double-hundred.
Correct.
I mean, he took a lot of shit in the early part of his career when everybody said. In fact, I was looking up some of the scorecards of 2016 series, and one of the associated coverage was Sanjay Manjrekar saying, not necessarily the same words, but approximately saying he's a bits and pieces cricketer.
But his batting has always been good, man. Like from the beginning, he has always been a guy who's not been slogging much. He's trying to preserve his wicket. He's trying to play what is called the proper cricket.
No, he's always been a good batsman for an all-rounder, but standalone, he didn't, see the spot as a batsman. And for a bowler who was averaging in the high 30s, he did give the impression that he was one of those, nice guys, but not necessarily the best guys to lead West Indies. And that was a theme that was repeated. First, the problem was the earlier run with Darren Sammy, who was the perfect example of that kind of a cricketer who was a good cricketer, a good guy, but not necessarily earning his stripes in Test cricket, right? And Michael Holding went to town with it every time he was talking about Darren Sammy, and to some extent, Holding was hypercritical of Jason Holder at the beginning part of his career, which resonated in the mainstream cricket media at large. And how he's turned around, it's actually taken him just 3 series to turn his bowling average to under 30.
Yeah, but because those series has been mad stats he said. I mean, even the whole of 2018 I've been repeating this so many times that the whole of 2018 his bowling stats is like near God level. What he has done. To an extent, even Shannon Gabriel and Roach, all three have been fantastic. But
Roach has been a top-notch fast bowler since his debut. Although he lost his pace in between, his record has been consistently good. He's always been, through his career, he's been one of the very few bowlers who average under 30. Even during an era like at the beginning of his career when averaging under 30 was a significant thing relative to now. And Shannon Gabriel was also, very talented bowler. Nobody questioned his chops as a bowler, right? With Holder, everybody thought he didn't earn his place as a bowler.
Correct. So till recently, let's say 2016-17, he was a bowler who could support the main bowlers by bowling a few overs here and there. Now he's a fast bowler on his own. He's like a proper seamer who can even start off as an opening option or as the number 3 option in terms of bowling. And he can hold his own and he can attack as well as bowl a defensive leg. That has been the change. I mean, in India, he took a 5-wicket, right? When he came to India, he took a 5-wicket haul.
Yeah, India he took a 5-wicket.
Hyderabad. Yeah.
Correct. So even in pitches where there is no help, he can bowl. I mean, that is the transformation that we have seen.
The other thing is that in terms of his all-round ability, he made that double 100 against England was quite sensational, man. I mean, had it been made by any other cricketer, we would have stopped. Exactly. We wouldn't have stopped talking about it. It would have been like just out. That was like an outrageously good innings, and he just going from once he reached towards the end of an innings, he was just toying with them, man. When you're talking about an England bowling attack, I mean, they're not like some club cricketers over here. He was just tulping them everywhere. Huge sixes.
And correct. From a point where he was resurrecting the innings from a collapse.
Exactly. And the thing is that now we actually have 3, mistake me if I'm missing anyone, but in Stokes, Shakib and Holder, you have 3 exceptional all-rounders. But it rarely gets spoken of, in the 80s when you had the 4 great all-rounders. I don't think people even talk about these 3 guys as what they bring to the game. They've been outstanding, man, all 3 of them. And Holder especially, he always goes under the radar, but he's so good.
Correct. And Mahesh will not like it, but I am kind of putting Hardik just below these 3 guys. That he can step up to that level.
Too early. But
yeah, I think that he's the guy who can step up to that level. It may be too early, but That's why I'm not putting him at par with all these three guys, Matan. These three guys are obviously standout, but
No, I don't find it outrageous because I think Hardik has the batting chops. I am not sure if he can be a fourth bowler. As a fifth bowler, yes, but I don't like the idea of a fifth part-time bowler or fifth bowler who also bats a bit kind of combination. But if he can be a fourth bowler, that kind of changes the dynamics completely.
oh, Macha, we are missing Ashwin himself. If he's batting, he can go back to the Ashwin of 2016. I think he can also walk into this list. No? Like he's as good a batsman and as good a bowler.
I mean, there was a time in his career where he was averaging more than 40 with the bat and less than almost 25 with the ball or something.
Correct.
That's remained a mystery for me. What happened to Ashwin's batting? Like, why is nobody doing like detailed analysis of this? Isn't it a big drop off from where he was?
Yeah, 4 Test centuries, dude. That's
And the way he scores them, right? I mean, it's one thing to score the runs, but he almost bats like a poor man's Lakshman.
Those quite stylish cover drives and all, right? Like with those, and then you would make those wristy flicks to mid wicket. Yeah, he was on a roll. But even at that time, how was his away record? Was he mostly a home batsman?
No, he scored quite well in Australia, for instance, in his first tour, if I remember right.
correct. And he hit, I remember a 50 in Australia and a couple of 40s in England.
No, I don't think it was a matter of technique because, I mean, if you look at his 400s, it's all against West Indies, 2 at home, 2 away. But as a batsman, he had the technique to play well anywhere. The two parts of the problem of his deterioration as a batsman is the record, which is a lesser problem. It's the way he bats, the way he is organized at the crease. It's like he's batting. Sometimes these days he bats like a tailender, doing all kinds of weird things at the crease. When he was a very handy all-rounder and a very handy batsman, he just batted like a proper batsman. He got behind the line of the ball and played. Now he does weird shuffles and backlifts and tries to move inside out and
Like his bowling, you mean?
Yeah.
But he's always been like that as a bowler. If you look at his bowling, I mean, a lot of people give a lot of shit for experimenting. But I mean, you remember Ashwin from the beginning to his peak as a test bowler? It came about because of his trial and error process. His initial action to his now stock ball is almost two entirely different people.
Correct. All right, that was our preview on the upcoming India-West Indies tests. Thank you, Sid and Mahesh, for making this happen. Hope you guys enjoyed hearing it as much as we did enjoy discussing it. You can find our pod on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and other major platforms. Please do leave us a rating on iTunes so that we reach a larger audience. And please do listen to our sister pod, The Other Banana, where we discuss regional movies. Till we meet again, this is us signing off. Bye.
India win. He'll come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for